Cassandra Donnelly from Creative Passages, and today I would like to share the traditional Japanese momigami process with Konnyaku Starch, which is made with konjac root gum powder. So I'm going to show you the traditional way to make it. I have another video with Momigami and the Konnyaku Starch, which was my first time and I wasn't patient enough to make it the correct way. So in this video, I'm going to attempt to do it the correct way. So what you'll need is, of course, the konjac root gum, powder, which cost around $27 on Amazon. I'll put the link below. At least that's what it cost at the time that I bought it. However, even though it seems kind of pricey, you only need a teeny bit. You only need 1/4 of a teaspoon per half a cup of water. And you're going to mix it for a long time, but you're going to get about 14 sheets of paper out of your mix. Okay, so of course you're going to need a measuring device. You're going to need a 1/4 of a teaspoon, and you're also going to need a half a cup. You're also going to need a container to mix it in. You're going to need some water for mixing. This is just drinking water, bottled drinking water, but you can use tap water or anything you want. And then you need, of course, something to mix it with. You could use just a regular old stick. This might have been a chopstick, I'm not sure, or a brush. Some people are afraid to use their brushes, but I found the brush cleans out very easily, so it really wasn't an issue. Or you could use like a palette knife or something like that to mix. And of course, you need paper. Now, I got this idea, the correct version of it. I watched many Momigami videos. However, I tended to trust the source of the Japanese paper place, the official one. So that's where the directions are for this particular combination, because depending on who you watch, they'll give you a slightly different version of the konjac gum powder, or the konjac root gum, to water. Now, she says it does not have to be precise, the lady in the Japanese paper place. So depending, it doesn't have to be precise, and generally if it's too thick later on, you can water it down later. She used washi paper. I don't know if it was this brand. I have some washi paper. It looks like this. You don't have to use fancy paper for this. You really don't. And it's really not complicated. It just takes a lot of patience. That's the only thing, and it takes a lot of time. What I used is, I used awagami paper. I bought this online at an art store, and I just cut it down. You can get it almost anywhere. I think I got it at Jerry's Artarama. So I just cut it down into manageable pieces. I also used this. I think it's mulberry paper. Got that at Jerry's too, but I couldn't find the receipt to see. It's either awagami paper or it's mulberry paper. But my point is, you can do this with thick paper or thin paper. If you can fold the paper, you can momigami it. And of course, you don't need the Konnyaku Starch to be able to momigami. You can do it dry. You can use tapioca powder, or tapioca starch, I mean. You can use hand lotion. You can use oils such as olive oil or tea tree oil, or even like lavender oil or something like that. Of course, the oil is going to change the color a little bit. So if you haven't tried the Konnyaku Starch, though, I would try it just for the experience of it, because it's really worth it, and it'll make your paper super durable and strong while being sort of soft and smooth, and it's just really fun to work with. It's worth it. So I tended to prefer to work dry before I tried this because I just didn't like the feel of the lotions and the oils a whole lot. But I really, really love the feel of the Konnyaku Starch. So it's a sensory experience all on its own. Now I do want to say in my previous video, I did it the incorrect way because I didn't have the patience to mix it for 30 minutes. You do have to mix the Konnyaku Starch for 30 minutes straight, and then you have to let it sit for 3 to 5 hours, or it's easier just to make it the night before, let it sit overnight. She recommended sitting in a fridge. I didn't sit in a fridge, I just left it out for one day, and then I did all my papers the next day. I prepared my papers in advance. I actually colored all my papers on the jelly plate, and I used acrylics and distress oxide sprays. That's on another video, so you can watch that. I just posted it. So once I got my papers ready and I got my starch ready, then it was just a simple matter of momigammied it, which of course is going to take a little bit of time. But one thing you're going to find out though, if you use the Konnyaku Starch instead of just doing it dry, it's going to go faster. And the main way that's different, if you wait and you do it the proper way, if you mix it for 30 minutes and let it sit, you know, overnight or 3 to 5 hours, if you do that, then your paper is not going to stick when you go to momigami it, because you're supposed to momigami it damp. And the first time I did it damp, I didn't let it sit that long, I didn't mix it that long, and my paper stuck together. So that's the main reason why you want to wait, so your paper doesn't stick together. Because of course if it sticks together, then it's going to rip, and that's what happened to me. But if it doesn't stick, and then you go to do it when it's nice and moist, you let it dry just a little bit, but you momigami it damp, you can basically just scrunch it up right away and just let it sit in a little ball, and it'll read those folds, and the folds will stay there, and I don't know if read's the correct word, but the folds will stay there, and then you can undo it, and you can do a whole bunch, and then undo it, and it feels great in your hands. It's not as hard on your hands. It doesn't take as much physical exercise or strength to do it when it's moist like that with the Konnyaku Starch than it does dry. When you do it dry, it's more of a workout on your hands. So this is easier for you, especially if you have arthritis in your hands or something like that. It's going to be easier on you to use the Konnyaku Starch. And then your papers are very strong and durable. It's almost like hard to describe how durable and strong these are, but yet soft at the same time. So that's what I loved about it. Like I said, I really love the feel of it. So stick around and I will show you how to do this. Okay, in the Konnyaku Starch, you want 1/4 teaspoon. And you want to put it in there slowly. I consulted a Japanese paper making place, and to just kind of double check the directions. She does say you can use it moist, and one part I forgot is that you want to do it kind of slowly, but she didn't wait completely for her Konnyaku Starch to dry on her paper, but it does have to dry a little bit. So she said you mix it slowly, and literally you got to mix it for like 30 minutes and let it sit for like 5 hours. So we're going to try to do it the proper way. I was a little impatient before, but we're going to see if that makes a difference as far as being able to use it when it's still damp and have it not stick together. So my plan is to mix this up for 30 minutes and let it sit overnight. I'm using a brush or a stick. You can use, it is easy to clean, so you don't have to worry about that. Then pull the rest of this off. Okay, now. I am excited about using it again because I really like the effects of it, and I want to see the difference it makes if I do it exactly, you know, the way that they instruct us to do. So we're gonna mix this for a full 30 minutes. And then we're going to let it sit. Alright, it's been 30 minutes. I've been stirring this the whole time, and I wanted to show it to you. It seems like Jello, the consistency of Jello. Oh, I don't know if you can see that there. So, but she says, let it sit for 5 hours or overnight. So that's what we're gonna do. And then I'm gonna use it again tomorrow. Look at that. Can you see that? Now, if it's too thick, she says you can thin it out later. So it might be too thick. If you're really using really thin papers, you might need to thin it out, but it still needs to sit. So. Alright, I'm back in the studio. The Konnyaku Starch has been sitting here for 2 nights, and it is pretty thick. I'm going to have to add some water to it. I was told that you can. If it gets a little too thick, you're going to want it to pour some water down in it. And thin it out just a little bit. Interesting smell. Don't want to leave it on too long. So I'm going to try to get to this tonight. Basically, I wanted to make more papers, so that's what I did, to put this on. So I've got all these papers. Most of these papers are made with awagami paper. Okay, it does have a funny smell, and it's been 2 nights. Okay, so we're gonna try this again. Gonna brush it on. So I got paint on both sides of this paper here. I'm gonna just go slow at first, and then I'm gonna speed things up because I have about 14, because I remember that's how many we did before. So you're supposed to do one side, and it's not supposed to be extremely wet. It's supposed to just be damp. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on all of these, and then hopefully it'll be dry enough so it doesn't stick. And if it does stick, then the time and all that didn't do anything. Okay, so got that. Alright, I almost forgot to show you my papers. And I'm getting ready to momigami it. So I already have my Konnyaku Starch on here. Just wanted to show you these papers real quick before I momigami it. They're drying right now. See how this works out here. This one's really wet. This one's really wet too. Which, can't remember if I showed you this one. This one. This one. This one. Oh, what got in there? Something stuck to it. This one. Something sticking. I don't remember that black being there. This one. Those are drying out here. Okay. Well, this was my first one. It's a little damp, and we're gonna see if it sticks. It's still, I mean, it's more than damp. It's wet. Still. Try it very cautiously. Actually, in the video I saw, she just balled it up. I'm so brave because I don't want this to rip. Well, let's see what happens. Ah, it did not, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay, where's that little end at? I just feel like it could be a little drier. Wow. I'm still afraid though. I'm thinking I should partially dry them off. This is a really thin paper too. How am I supposed to remember what side I put the stuff on? It's working. It's a working. It's a working. It's a working. This was the side I put it on. Okay, so that's enough for that. I'm going to put a second coat on this and set it aside. Well, I was using a big brush for that. the side I had it on before. I just don't want to get confused. I want to go in. This one. This dry overnight because it is a little bit tedious worrying about it sticking. And I gave all of them with some good wrinkles, so it'll be less stressful when it's dry.
Alright, so this is my Momigami paper with the Konnyaku Starch that sat out for almost 2 days because I couldn't get to it the next day. So this is a thin awagami paper, and I just want you to see that in comparison to the thin awagami paper made with the Konnyaku Starch as well, but the one that I sort of rushed and didn't let it sit out more than 5 hours. So I only let it sit out for maybe 20 minutes. So the difference is that this feels a bit thicker. I mean, not like the paper's thicker, but it feels like it got more of the starch by sitting on there longer. This one feels a little bit softer. Let's see if you can hear the difference. That crunch compared to... There's not much difference, but if you want to try this yourself, I'd experiment it both ways. Also, with this one here, I did both sides. Did one side, let it sit and dry, and then did the other side. And probably this one's going to tear more easily than this one too. But I let both sides dry with the Konnyaku Starch before I momigamied it. And this one, all these right here, I did one side with the Konnyaku Starch after, it sat out for nearly 2 days. Momigamied it while it was still damp, and then later went back and did the other side. And well, actually, I didn't momigami the other side while it was damp because I didn't have time to. I was late, so I did it the next day. Whereas these, I just this is the one where the Konnyaku Starch was not sitting for very long, where I pretty much used it right away. Same with these here too. So anyway, I wanted to show you these though. So this is a thin awagami paper that I momigamied, and then we've got this one. This is a thin awagami paper. Then we've got this one, which I used the sumi ink on. They're all made with acrylics and distress sprays. So this is a thicker awagami paper now with the sumi ink and distress sprays, and this is, I thought this one was thicker, but actually it feels thinner to me. They're all awagami paper, what I'm showing you right now, but maybe it just had a little bit more starch on it. This is definitely the thicker awagami paper. And then this is the thicker one as well. I'll flatten these out. And that one's a thicker awagami paper. And this is a thicker awagami paper. I like the color of that. And then this is the thicker awagami paper. This one as well. And this one as well. And now, this is not awagami paper. This is just regular drawing paper, like 20 pounds, I think. This was my scrap paper, my runoff, my waste paper for when I had too much paint on my roller. I rolled it off on here. But it looks kind of cool. I like that. It's just I noticed the cheaper paper ripped a little bit more, especially when it was damp. So this is also the just cheap drawing paper. Still looks cool. This was also just a runoff, but I really like it. And then this one was, I believe, also just a runoff as well, just like a scrap. This one is when I tried to momigami it wet. Trying to think. Yeah, and it just ripped a little bit. But I thought this one was the one where I waited to use a momigami, but I'm not 100%. Because I do remember it ripped. Alright, that's it. Well, this was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming to my channel, and watching this video on how to momigami the correct way. I hope you were able to learn something. I know I did by doing it both ways, incorrect way and then the correct way. But I guess the point of this is that it's either way would work. It's just that it was a little bit nicer to momigami with it done the correct way, because then you could do it while it was damp and you wouldn't have to worry about it ripping so much. And so it just took a little bit of extra time and effort. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask, and have a blessed day. And if you really enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it. And I also will have other videos that you might enjoy, so maybe you might want to subscribe. Bye!